Birthdays are usually associated with some sort of celebration with the people closest to you. That is, unless Victor Creed, aka Sabertooth, is among the people closest to you. In part 1 of this violent Sabertooth war, Sabertooth and his 4 multiversal variants managed to eat Kid Omega like a pack of wild hyenas and dismember Wolverine's son Daken, and use his body parts to spell out happy birthday. Now, in part 2 of the most violent Wolverine story ever told, the best there is ready to unleash his rage on his oldest and most fearsome enemy, Sabertooth. But there won't be any candles or cake for Logan this birthday, only pain, gore, and a lot of blood. Wolverine is enraged at the sight of Sabertooth's gift as he charges towards the army of headless Sabertooth husks, claws engaged and ready to mow through them like a weed eater. But even the best there is has limits, and Wolverine is outnumbered as the headless beasts converge and swallow him up in their numbers. Sabertooth tells Logan that he's there to make good on a promise he made to the Quiet Council back when they launched his furry feral ass into the pits of Krakoa for violating the Krakoan law, kill no human. Sabertooth didn't want to kill Wolverine yet, though. He wants to make Wolverine watch as Sabertooth, his alternate versions, and Headless Army tear apart the rest of his friends and teammates inside their new headquarters. He'll use a special set of adamantium tentacles he took from an Omega Red in another universe to tie up Wolverine and give him the best seat in the house. Only the best for the best, right? Sabertooth wants Wolverine to hear the screams and smell the carcasses of his allies. It's worth mentioning that Pretty Boy Sabertooth suggests that they just end Logan right there. But Sabertooth objects and asserts his dominance, letting Pretty Boy know that they're going to do things his way. Inside the greenhouse, we see Laura Kinney and Domino having a brief conversation about Wolverine's gift from Laura and the surrealness of even making plans for the future given the current state of mutant kind. Before the two can delve any deeper, Wolverine returns and joins them. Damn, that healing factor works fast. Domino was going to leave the two Wolverines to discuss their favorite catnip, but she gets back-fisted as she walks out from Wolverine. Like a pimp. Wait a minute. Laura immediately smells that that's not Wolverine, but Camo Sabertooth. Damn, he is tricky. The last time he took Logan's form, Kid Omega ended up as dinner. But Laura is game, and she engages her claws and goes on the attack. It's not long, though, before Pretty Boy and Savage Sabertooth join the fray, now making it 3 against 1. Laura tries to notify Sage and Black Tom of the intrusion and attack, but the two of them are still under the telepathic trance from part 1 when Sabertooth used Kid Omega's head to project an optic beam that disrupted their surveillance. So Sage and Black Tom are basically at the mercy of the headless Sabertooth soldiers. Meanwhile, Captain Sabertooth takes a group of soldiers with him to engage Colossus. Fortunately, the Russian bear isn't a heavy sleeper and quickly assumes his metallic form to defend himself. And now we see Wolverine strung up by the wrists and ankles like the proverbial Messiah as he watches his Sabertooth and his army brutally tear through a group of refugee mutants. Wolverine is having internal dialogue and blames himself for the massacre. He failed Kid Omega, he failed his son, and now he's failed the rest of these weird mutants. In a very symbolic fashion, he wishes he can take on their pain and make it his own. I'm beginning to see why this will be the most violent Wolverine story ever told, as we see Sabertooth holding one of the young mutants by the neck in the air and slowly squeezing until the mutant's neck is so violently crushed that the head and body are severed apart. Then some duck mutant, Darkwing Duck, bravely runs toward the Massacre, but Sabertooth quickly strikes him in the gut and pulls his intestines out. Shit. And then Sabertooth turns his attention to a young mutant girl with octopus arms, trying to cover her ears, or trying to at least. And Sabertooth is about to do the same to her, or worse, but fortunately for her, Aurora and Northstar arrive to help turn the tides of this battle. The two each have children in their arm as they speedily go to Sage and Black Tom's aid. Once they arrive, they quickly neutralize the Sabertooth soldiers. And now we go back to Wolverine. As he hangs with the cold wind beating against his body, he can hear the sound of bones breaking and victims choking on their own blood. He imagines wholesome, sentimental moments with Kid Omega, his son, and Laura respectively. He knows that mutant resurrection is gone and there's no coming back, or so he thinks. They say when there's a will, there's a way, and right now Wolverine needs to find a way out of his entrapment. Wolverine's bones may be sleeved in adamantium, but his joints are made of tissue, and tissue can be cut. So Wolverine takes a page out of Saw and pulls one arm so hard that the hand and wrist are separated. He then extracts his claws from that freed arm and uses it to sever off both feet and the remaining hand. Holy shit. I can't even imagine the level of pain Wolverine is experiencing, but maybe with the adrenaline and his healing factor, it's not as bad. Wolverine is now free, a few inches shorter, and has revenge and Laura on his mind. Speaking of Laura, we see her holding her own against 3 of the 4 alternate Sabertooths. Savage Sabertooth takes her back and attempts to gouge her eyes out, but Domino uses her Krakoan arm cannon to blast that bitch right in the face. Her moment is short-lived, though, as Camo gives her some sweet chin music, knocking her out once again. Laura Kinney uses that opportunity, though, to deliver a fatal blow to Pretty Boy, separating his head from his neck. He ain't so pretty anymore, huh? But before Laura can capitalize, Savage Sabertooth trips her, and she and Camo jump on the downed Wolverine. Back in the greenhouse command center, Aurora and Northstar manage to break the trance that Sage and Black Tom are in. Once the two regain their composure and are brought up to speed on the attack, Sage quickly goes to work with Black Tom to remove their intruders. Sage comes up with a clever plan to introduce Sabertooth's genetic profile as a virus to the body of the greenhouse via Black Tom. This will enable the sentient flora around the greenhouse to attack all life forms with Sabertooth's genetic makeup, like a swarm of white blood cells. Once Sabertooth realizes what's going on, he calls for a retreat, and he and what's left of his army tuck their tails and run. And as you can see here, Captain Sabertooth fell victim to the greenhouse vines, so that means only Camo and Savage Sabertooth are the only 2 variants that survived. Now, determined and mutilated, Wolverine makes his way down a hallway of bodies and blood. He encounters a group of headless Sabertooth soldiers and prepares to engage them, but before he can, the greenhouse wraps up the remaining clones and dismembers them right in front of Logan. Now the best there is can get to his real objective, checking on Laura. He enters the room where she and Domino were and calls for her by name. No answer. He calls again. No reply. He then screams her name, Laura! And all we're left with is this image of the neatly wrapped birthday gift she had got for him, covered in blood splatters. To be continued. Wow. Talk about violence. And I thought the first part was pretty graphic with Daken's dismemberment, but part 2 went to another level. Is Laura dead? Is Wolverine seemingly falling to another person he held dear to his heart? Did Camo and Savage Sabertooth escape the greenhouse? How fast will Wolverine grow his hands and feet back? Find out next time in part 3 of the most violent Wolverine story ever told. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Trademark Comics.